Test, test. What's up, guys? You are listening to HVAC Masters of the Hustle podcast, and this is your host, J-Dub Moneymaker, and welcome to episode 119, you guys. First off, I want to say thank you for everyone that listens to the podcast and truly reaches out every single week to tell me how this podcast gets you to that next level, because as you guys know, we're climbing the mountain together. And for everyone that's new listening to the podcast, make sure you guys smash the subscribe button, because this podcast is helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people get to the next level. And for those of you that know, I have a big training event November 11th and 12th in Vacaville, California. I got Weldon Long that's going to be joining me. So make sure you guys join that November 11th and 12th, again in Vacaville, California. And man, let me tell you guys, I have a great episode. He's no stranger to the podcast. He's a legend in the industry. Let's go ahead and welcome the one and only Joe Cunningham. How you doing, Joe? Oh, you'll have to unmute yourself one more time.
Okay.
Go to the, there you go. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, Jason. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. It's always a pleasure to join you and help talk to the people that you're trying to reach out there.
Absolutely, man. So you've been on the podcast before, so you're no stranger. And you know, this podcast, you and I talked earlier about what we really want to deliver to the people listening, right? And I think it's really good for my listeners to understand the importance of technicians, right? Maybe the green technicians, seasoned technicians, to really understand what a tune-up looks like in the summertime, or what a tune-up looks like in general. And why does technicians also start taking away from their process, and the importance of not taking it away?
Okay. You know, to me, a tune-up in the summertime, tune-up in the wintertime, it really doesn't change a lot, other than we're working on air conditioning versus working on heating. It's a systematic process that we take and look at this system, and we're going to do our best to check everything out and try to return this system to as close to nearly new status as we can. You know, nobody can turn it back into brand new again, but that's our goal. And by doing a tune-up the correct way, you're checking every single component that's going to be used this season. You know, from the starting components to the running components, to the refrigeration side, to the electrical side, to the airflow side, every single part of this system has to be checked, because leaving it out is only going to lead to future disaster. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of us, as we look at an air conditioning system, really don't realize how hard this thing really works. You know, I don't know where everybody is in the country, but I live in Houston, Texas. I actually live in Louisiana, but my business is in Houston. And the air conditioners here run 2,200 hours a year. You know, so if you take a look at that in comparison to, say, an automobile, if you were to get in your car and drive 2,200 hours at 60 miles an hour, you would drive that thing like 132,000 miles a year. Yeah. So if you were going to drive your car 132,000 miles a year, what would you check? I mean, you'd probably think about checking the oil, checking the tires, checking the antifreeze, checking everything. You know, so why wouldn't you want to do that with an air conditioning system? And even if you're further north, if you're running 1,000 hours, it's the same as driving your car 70,000 miles. And you wouldn't dream of doing that without checking every single component, especially at the beginning of summer, because it's like we live in the middle of the country and we're getting ready to take the kids to Disney World. So, yeah. I mean, you got to check this thing out, because it's a long-ass trip to get to Florida. So the tune-up consists of checking everything. You know, and I think everybody out there should have a detailed checklist of what you're supposed to look at. You know, we break ours down by component, by the condenser, by the coil, by the air handler, and we check every single thing. You know, one of the things I think that hurts most techs, though, is the urgency of the season. You know, it's hot.
Yep.
And, you know, everybody's amazed that it gets hot. Well, it's supposed to get hot. It's summertime. You shouldn't be any damn surprised.
And that's
You know,
funny that you mentioned that, actually, because I was on a training last week and he's like, a homeowner mentioned it and was like, man, it's really hot today. And I said, hot today? It's summer. Summer's here, right? It's not today.
I
It's the
know.
next couple months.
Yeah. You know, it lasts and it lasts and it lasts and it lasts. You know, so what are you supposed to do to safeguard that thing? You know, people, and it amazes me, even up north, people will go longer without heat than they will without air conditioning. You know, I've said in places, you know, in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and listen to the calls come in, and the people say, well, my furnace is out, and the dispatcher or the CSR will say, well, we're kind of busy. We can't get anybody there for a couple of days. Customer says, well, that's all right. We'll just
Yep.
put a couple extra logs on the fire, get an extra blanket.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. But, you know, it's 80 degrees and the air conditioning goes out and everybody's they're going to have a friggin' stroke or something. I don't know what the hell happens, but they can't do without air conditioning. And, you know, that urgency and that drive of the calls coming in, to me, it seems like it puts pressure on the techs. You know, and the pressure comes from a couple different areas. You know, the pressure comes from knowing we're going to have a lot of people calling in, so I may have to work late. And I worked late yesterday and the day before, and I worked Saturday, and it's really hot, and I'm getting tired, and it's summertime, and you know what? That's the way the business goes. But
Yep.
all of that pressure ends up meaning this tech is going to do what he can to shorten the process. And you know what? Anytime you shorten the process, nothing good is going to happen. And if you really take a look at it, when you shorten the process, here's what happens. Your average ticket goes down. Your customer level of satisfaction goes down. And your callbacks go up. So since your callbacks are going up, you're doing something to yourself that you positively don't want to have happen. I mean, I don't understand that philosophy of the tech that sits there and thinks, you know what, I don't have the time to fix it right today and get paid, but somehow next week I'm going to have time to go back and fix it for free. How the hell does that work? You know, so the goal is, to me, run the system. Run the system. If you run the system and you do every step of your tune-up, you're always going to find all the problems. The customer is going to buy more from you. Now, I'm not saying to sell a customer anything they don't want, don't need, or can't afford. But what I am saying is this. If you really look at the entire system, you're going to find everything that's wrong. And if I go to the customer and say, I found these things wrong, this is the effect of not fixing it. You know, I'm here right now. I can fix it like it's supposed to be. Or if you insist, I can put it back together just like it is. What would you like me to do? You know, the end result is the customers have more things fixed on every call. You know, and the customer's happier, the techs are happier. And the pressure that comes from the outside forces will tend to lessen. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have the calls still to run, and it doesn't mean that the dispatcher won't be calling you, but it will mean that you don't have to go back over and over again to somebody's house that's upset with you, and you have to fix this air conditioning for free. So in my estimation, and I mean, I've probably run more service calls than most service techs because I ride so many calls. In my estimation, the right job is to go through the entire system, look at everything, follow your process, don't skip anything, educate the customer as to what you find out on every single call, give this customer an opportunity to say yes or say no, and finish up the job and do it the right way. Make sure that you document everything. It's even more important to document things in the summer than it is in the winter, because if anything happens, the customer didn't know what you did in the first place, and you're going to have those callbacks. So please do all your documentation. Don't shortcut your paperwork. And that's one thing that really hurts techs is they shortcut their paperwork. But you know what I try and convey to techs is this. You are there to look at this system, do a tune-up, or service the equipment. Your job is to look at everything. Now, when you tell the customer what's wrong, it doesn't mean that they're going to have everything fixed today. And you know what? That's okay. They get to pick and choose. But what it does mean is that since I have really done the job, I know everything that's wrong with the system. And when things slow down at the end of the summer, and it will, because just like summer comes every year, fall does too. Everybody's surprised when fall gets here. You know, I don't know why you're supposed to be surprised. It's happened every damn year in my life. But you know, fall's
coming. It catches us all off guard every year.
I know. Yeah, it's like, holy shit, it's cold again. How'd that happen? You know, we were so busy, I didn't think it'd ever get cold. But, you know, that's what happens. So if I've done my job and really documented, at the end of the summer, instead of having our company in a position where we don't have enough calls to run, I have these wonderful lists of every repair that needs to be made in my customer base. And the customer says he knows that he has them. He just didn't have them fixed that day. That doesn't mean he never wants them fixed. And, you know, in our little company here, because we do follow the system and we do document everything, I would say that 40% of our fall and spring business comes from doing the system in the summer. You have to do the system in the summer. If you don't do the system in the summer, you're going to make the fall the same as it's been for the past however many years you've been in this business. And you continue this ass whipping you get every single year. So,
well, Joe, just real quick, you know, the importance of document, right? So technicians go in there and document, like you're saying, they might not be ready today to do it, but it might take 3 or 4 times of us replanting that seed, and they might say yes on 5, 6, maybe 7 times of asking, right? But like you said, we need to make sure that we document it. The reason why is it allows us to go through the notes and everything. So when we are slow, we could hit up all of those and get those repairs, or even get them on the schedule to maybe happily involved with the system replacement. So very important for my listeners out there to understand, document. Go ahead, Joe.
You're exactly right. You know, we probably have the most robust rehash system here in-house of anybody in the country. And I've helped more people learn how to do that than anyone else. And all of our rehash comes from the documentation. You know, if I send a tech to your house, Jason, and he comes back to you and he says, you know, I came here to look at your system and it's not cooling, so your contactors are burned up and your capacitor's weak and your fan motor's overamping and your coil's dirty and you're low on refrigerant. Well, you don't know what the hell I said. You don't even know what I'm talking about. So you ask the only question that makes sense. How much is all of that? And I say, you know, $1,900. And you say, holy smokes, that's a lot of money, man. You got to do all that to make it run? I said, well, no, Jason, if I put the refrigerant in it and I put the contactors in, it's going to run and blow cold air. I just don't know how long. Could be a week, could be a day, could be a year. Hell, I don't know. And then you ask me the only other question that you'll understand. How much for that? And I said, well, that's $700. So now you're sitting there as a homeowner thinking, let me see, you said he could get it going for $700. He said he could get it going for $1,900. I need new tires on my pickup. I'm doing the $700. Well, that doesn't mean you never want that stuff fixed. It just means you didn't want it fixed that day. So the documentation these guys do is so incredibly important. And that's the first thing that goes out the window. It's the first thing that goes out the window. Because they tell themselves, all I'm going to do is tell him what's wrong, get it fixed, and get down the road. And you kill yourself. Yep. So I tell every tech, whether they work for me, whether they work for you, whether they work for the Ben Starks of the world, whether they work for anybody out there, this is what you do. Document this stuff. And then go back and It will make you busy all year long. It will make sure that you are the highest paid tech in the world and the most valuable tech. But don't shortcut your system. The system's there for a reason. I mean, the people that are telling you it, and I don't know everybody on your podcast, Jason. I know there's a lot of people on there, and they listen to a lot of different people. I mean, there's a lot of good trainers out there today. You know, there's Joe Crisara, there's Charlie Greer, there's Weldon. All those guys are out there. But, you know, every one of them is telling them this: follow the system and maximize your opportunities. Follow the system and maximize your opportunities. Don't take shortcuts. Shortcuts lead to big disasters. Do it all, whether it's summer, whether it's winter, whether it's fall, whether it's spring. None of those things matter. You're a technician. You're a professional. You're there to do your job. Do it. Find out what's wrong. Communicate with the customer. Educate them. Take care of them. Document. And you will be...
Joe, let me ask you another question. Rolling off document, you know, during busy season, how can some of my managers that are listening to the podcast or business owners, how can they hold their team accountable?
Holding the team accountable is pretty easy. There's a couple of things as a business manager that you need to keep your eye on. Okay, number one, improper dispatching will destroy what you're trying to do. Giving the techs too many calls saying, when are you done, because we have other people, that will make a tech rush. But number two, not debriefing your call because everybody gets in this pressurized zone will hurt you as well, because the guys just in a hurry will forget something. You know, so if Jason, if you're my tech, I'm going to ask you at the end of every call, half a dozen different questions. You know, is the customer happy? Did you complete the call? Did you reuse customer service reports along with a review to get more information from our customer? Did you offer at least X number of options? Did you offer a service agreement? Did you do whatever those have-tos in your call are? So debriefing is huge. And I find when I debrief a tech, because he's so busy, it keeps him focused on not forgetting. You know, I do things, and I've done some things for lots and lots of years, but I find myself forgetting something. And if I just get reminded, then I don't forget, and my maximization opportunities go up. You know, everybody out there only has three things to work with. You have manpower, you have time, and you have capital. I mean, everybody's only got 24 hours in a day. You can only work so many of them. I've only got so many guys I can put in the field, and I only have so much money I can invest in a job. So how do I make the most out of those three things? And it's follow the system, document everything, maximize the opportunities, and for the management, follow up, debrief, make sure your guys have done what you've asked them to do, which is follow the system. You know, I was telling you before the podcast that in our training class, we had our tech training class, we had Coral Whale talk to the guys that were in my fast track program. And she is probably one of the most prolific system followers that I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And she told them the same thing. Just do the system. Just do the system. Follow the process, and you'll be good. And she is an amazing woman. I don't know if you've had her on your podcast yet. I think you did.
Yep.
If I did, I missed that one. I need to go back and hear her. She's an amazing person.
Absolutely. So for my listeners listening, you know, Coral Wells, she's been on the podcast. She's a beast female in the industry that does well over several million in indoor air quality just by following a process, getting to the next level, being consistent. So, yeah, definitely a great podcast to listen to and follow up on, Joe. Joe, one thing I want to ask you is one thing you mentioned was, you know, we burn out our technicians and everything like that. For my business owners and dispatchers listening right now, how many calls should a technician run in a day? How do you not burn them out in summertime? And if they are burnt out, what should you do to make them, you know, get their mindset right and their state of mind?
You know, I approach this a lot of different ways. And, you know, my goal for number of calls used to be higher. My goal is, and as I take a look at what the guys are doing in the field and how well they do, their KPIs that are producing. I'm finding that 3 to 4 calls a day is probably the most profitable number. And I tell the guys when they go to work for me, that's my goal for them. But I also tell them this. I said, this is a seasonal business. My goal for you is to work 3 to 4 calls a day and have calls that you can maximize your opportunity. But you have to realize that we're going to go in Houston from 70 degrees to 95 in one day. Okay. And then we're going to stay there for a while. So those first couple of weeks of hot weather, all bets are off. You're probably going to run 5 or 6 the first week or so anyway. So that happens, and I try to minimize that. I do my best to rotate the weekends. Our weekends are however many techs we have. Say we have 6 techs, 7 techs, 8 techs, whatever. We have 1 tech that works that rotation on Saturdays. We don't set any Sunday calls. Sundays are for true emergency. True emergencies are dying grandma hooked to oxygen. It's not a guy that lives in a country club community with 4 systems and his kid's hot playing video games in the game room. My answer to that, I have to bite my tongue because I want to tell him, kick your kid's ass out in the hardware. I don't tell him that, but
we keep it in.
But, yeah, I dislike sending my guys on a call that's not an emergency after their on-call stuff on Saturday and on Sunday, because I'm asking them to take away time from their family. And that's what I look at. When I ask these guys to work till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I'm asking them to take time away from their family. And the techs today, I see they're placing a lot of value on time, some of them more than money. So I try to keep that in my mind because, to me, I was always, I'm going to get up and go to work. And then when I'm done, I'm going to go to bed, whatever time that is. And it never bothered me. But, the techs we have today are somewhat changing. So I try to give them some slack in the evening when I can. But like I said, first couple of weeks, I can't help it. It's just, it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
Yeah. But, I want to, and I also want to reward them in other ways than money. There was a thing posted the other day, what are you going to do about the guys that want to take off in the summertime and take a vacation? Well, my old answer used to be different than today's answer. My old answer used to begin with a 4-letter word, and it wasn't. But it's not anymore because I realize what it is. I've got kids too, and my answer is, when else can I take my kid on a vacation? So I've got to make accommodations for that. But for business owners, if you will really debrief your calls, and if you will really get your guys to maximize opportunities in the summer and watch on keeping your call volume per tech down, but your secondary productivity, the ability to rehash up, it's going to allow you to hire more techs to handle the volume. So if I've got techs that I've got to push to 6 or 7 calls a day, and I'm doing it all the time, I don't need them to run more calls. I need more techs.
Yeah.
So then it comes to the point of how do you build them? Well, I'm not the only one that does it anymore, but we can create a tech for you like really fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, Joe, you're very good at creating techs very fast.
Yeah, I can give you a guy in 10 days that's going to go run calls for you, and he's going to be effective. He's not just going to occupy a truck. And we're now doing it online. So, you don't even have to send them to a damn hotel. I can't do it online in 10 days, but we do it online 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks. And the guy's running calls and helping your guys in the field after he gets out of class. So, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't always have a couple techs in training somewhere if you're doing something and really maximizing the calls. So, that should be part of the business owner system. When I got Dustin Miller and I got Ryan Snow sending not just 1 or 2 texts, but 3 or 4 texts, and not just the one class, but class after class. I mean, it tells me that it's working.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's my next question. Joe, you've been doing this for so long, you're going to be going up in HVAC Hall of Fame, I'm sure, but let me ask you, what is the secret sauce in turning a green guy into a full operational technician in 10 days?
Well, here's the thing that we do that speeds the process. When we do our classes online or on here at our place, every day we have a class. Every day when we get done, they have homework, and I give them what we call a personal learning experience. It's a form that they have to fill out. I'm going to go by memory, but this is the best thing I learned today. This is what I learned today that I think will help me most. This is what I feel like we need to review again. I just didn't get it. So that allows me to focus on the parts that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
We focus on the basics, and we're extremely hands-on. So now the guys leave, and they understand sequence of operation. They know how to use gauges. They know how to use meters. They can figure subcooling. They can figure superheat. And they know basic troubleshooting techniques. Now, when they leave here, we build them today what we call a truck book. Their truck book consists of several handbooks. The first handbook is steps to take when. So you open it up, and it says steps to take before you do work on any air conditioner. Then the next chapter, steps to take when you get there, condenser runs, furnace doesn't, furnace runs, condenser doesn't, none of this shit runs. What do you do step by step by step? Because what happens is the guys get confused. They jump in the middle of the call, and they replace $300 worth of parts before they find out that the breaker was blown. So if they just follow the steps, and we've got coming along a new program because we teach them to use my checklist. If they can do my checklist, they can do virtually anybody's in the world because mine's pretty complete. But our checklist grades every component in a system, green, yellow, or red, or it's graded numerically. Our new checklist is going to be electronic, and there will be another button on there, and it will be blue. And when you're looking at a task, I send you out on a job, and you look at it and you say, holy crap, I forgot how to do that. Well, you'll click your blue button, and the video is going to come up and show you how to do it. So it'll be field training right there. And the worst thing that will happen is you're going to be out on a job. You will go through the steps to take when book. You will go through the tutorial, and you still can't get it running. So then you call the service manager, and it takes what used to be a 2-hour call where I said, Jason, did you check this? Go do that. Go do this. Go do. Instead of that, you've got enough information, it turns it into a 10-minute meeting, and you fix the system. And because we make them do that, these guys learn by doing, not by watching. I can take them with me. They can watch me for 2 weeks. The only thing they learn after 2 weeks of watching me is how to watch me. They learn how to watch me really good. But that's the only thing they know. So I make them do it. When the guys are here, if they're having a problem, I don't do anything. I just make them take a step back and go through the basics. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the only ones that have problems when they get out of the school, they call me up and say, I just can't get this thing running. I said, well, get your truck book. Let's go there. Well, I left it at the house. So I tell them, don't ever leave it at the house.
Don't ever leave it at the house. You got to use that like a Bible.
That's right. It's called a truck book. It's not called the recliner book. It's not supposed to be at your recliner.
Nope.
But
the truck is your office.
And that's how we get them really good, really fast. I mean, Dustin has sent some guys to us, and I've got some letters from him and said, Joe, I sent this guy to you, and 6 months later, he's a top tech that we've got in the company.
Absolutely. And for my listeners, real quick, I got to second that because I've been, to Dustin Miller's company twice now. And every time I'm out there, we talk about you and your training and how successful it is when he brings technicians back. And, he's just always mind boggled with the results. So I could definitely testify upon that.
Well, we do the best we can. I look at all these techs the same way. Like this guy might have to go to work for me next week. And that's how I look at them. I'm training them for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if they'll do what I want them to do and what I need them to do, I know that they're probably going to suit 99% of the people I take them to.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Joe, let me ask you, what is the most difficult thing about your job as being a business owner or a trainer?
The most difficult thing, you know, the most difficult thing is dealing with people that just have the attitude that they don't want to try. They just want you to give them something. You know, I am a believer in second and third chances. I will give everybody a chance. You know, and if you work for me, I understand things happen in life. You know, I understand your kid gets sick. I understand your grandma dies. I understand your cars break down. I understand all of these things in life because it's all happened to me. But I don't like people with the attitude that, like, I owe them something, you know, so I should make all these special arrangements for them.
Absolutely.
You know, I was raised primarily by my grandparents, and my grandfather was a pretty hard old man, you know, and that's just the way he was. It wasn't that he didn't love you. In fact, he was hard because he did.
Absolutely.
And he was afraid one day he wasn't going to be there, and then you're going to have to do it. And sometimes I guess I get a little bit too much of that in me. And, you know, sometimes I will listen to a certain point, and then I've you know, I've heard enough, so I have to cut the excuse wagon off. So that's probably the hardest thing. You know, people that just don't want to work and dealing with them. Because if you've got 1 ounce of try, that's all you need, just 1 ounce. I'm going to give you every benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to knock myself out. You know, I've gotten to the point where I don't have to do this stuff anymore. And my wife keeps asking me, why do you keep doing this shit? I mean, you could just come home and do nothing. And she's right, I could. But I've told people before, and I've told her, you know, everything that we've got is only because of the work that I've done with business owners and primarily technicians. And, you know, there's some things that bother me in the technician side. You know, it's like, well, I'll go to a company and one guy will come in late one day and I say, how come you're late? He says, well, the traffic was really bad and we live so far away from here that it just takes me forever to get to town. I said, well, why don't you just live closer? He said, well, we can't afford to. I have to live way out of town. It's the only place I can afford to live. That bothers me. You work in an industry like this and you can't live where you want to live? And then 2 days later, another guy come in late and I say, how come you're late? He said, well, I had to take my wife to work. I said, well, why didn't she drive her own car? She says, well, it's screwed up. We can't afford to get it fixed. I said, why don't you buy her new? And he said, our credit's screwed up. We can't get it. And you know what? That bothers me too. And, you know, then they talk about their kids are old enough to go to school and they don't know how they're going to be able to send them. And I told my wife, my goal is this. I'm going to keep doing this stuff until every tech I work with is able to drive what he wants to drive, live where he wants to live, and send his kid to school where he wants to send him.
Absolutely.
Now, I may never hit that goal, but that's what I'm shooting for.
Well, I love it because it's a continuous growth, right? So it's like me. It's when you could justify a goal and put a cap on it, it's not really something that you want to achieve. Because you're like me. I mean, I should say I'm more like you, Joe, because I got to respect the fact of how long you've been doing this, right? So, you know, I'm a new buck when it comes to the whole training and everything like that. One thing you said when we started this podcast was, oh, look, you're in a hotel, right? I've been in thousands of hotels and everything is what you said. So, you know, I look at you at this figure, you know, that, man, you've achieved so much, and it's because of how many people you want to touch in this industry. And the fact that you made the goal unachievable, knowing that it's just continuous growth, is mind-boggling to me, because absolutely, like you said, you could hang the keys up, take the shoes off, kick your feet back, watch TV, and be happy, right? And not touch another technician, train another technician. But the passion that you have and the fire is the purpose. And that's what I talk about, is what drives you, your purpose and your why.
Yep. Yeah, you got to have something that you're shooting for. I mean, too many people I know retire, go home and lay down and die. I ain't never going to do that. They're going to have to shoot my ass out of the saddle.
Right on, Joe. So I got, listeners from business owners, dispatchers, installers, comfort advisors. What would you like for them to get out of this episode of HVAC Masters of the Hustle?
Mike, what I would like for them to get out of this episode is this. Don't let summer overwhelm you. Summer is just another season. Especially for the comfort advisors, don't let the heat rush you. Don't take the shortcuts. The shortcuts that you take are going to come back to bite you. It's going to lower your closing ratio. And what it does is it tends to make you lazy if you sell too many while you're short in the system. I used to sell retail, and I'd find myself doing the same thing. I'd get really good at doing a heat load. I'd get really good at going through the house, doing airflow analysis. And then it's so friggin' hot here. It's 98 degrees, and all you have to do is, I just want to know how much to write the check for.
Yeah.
And I always thought it's me. I'm just friggin' magic. So I don't even have to make this presentation anymore. So I'd quit making the presentation, and it worked great until about the end of August. And then all of a sudden, all the leads started sucking real bad. And I found out it really wasn't the leads that sucked, it was me, because I took the shortcuts. I quit my system. And technicians will do the same thing. You're going to take your shortcuts. It'll work for a little bit, but it's going to come back to bite you. So don't shortcut it. Take the long way around. And, one thing that Ken Goodrich says that you really need to remember, they do things the right way, not the easy way.
Absolutely.
And if you'll just stick with that, it's going to hold you on the system. It's going to hold you there. It sure as hell helped him. So
absolutely. One of the biggest HVAC owner right there in the nation, in the world. In the
world. He's an amazing man and done some amazing things. And I've known him for a long time. He's a great guy, and he does what he says.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Joe, for being a guest on the podcast. It's always an honor. Until next time.
Okay, thanks for having me, Jason. I'll talk to you out later. Good luck out on the road, buddy. I'll see you around soon.